I saw this dresser on Facebook Marketplace and I knew I could bring it back to life. So I brought it home, set it on some cardboard, and it's time to get to work. First step, take out the top 3 drawers. I don't need those. I want an open space concept, but I'm going to keep the bottom 2, but then I need to remove the hardware from the 3 drawers and get that cleaned up for shelves. I also want to save the handles. Instead of buying new handles, why don't I just refinish those also? I'm going to take them off, even if I'm not going to use them all, and I'm going to paint them. First step though is to get them on a piece of cardboard so I can spray them, and also it's best to use 2 to 3 small coats instead of 1 thick one because then it won't run. Next, after that's drying, it's time to clean up the drawers and the cabinet itself, and I need to put on some primer. This is important. Primer gives the paint something to adhere to. That way the paint doesn't peel off later. I'm going to take the drawers, put on a nice coat of paint with a foam roller, and then I'm also going to do it to the cabinet itself, on the inside and the outside. While that's drying, it's time to build the 3 shelves that I need. So I had some scrap plywood hanging around the house, and I cut those up. The plywood's a little thick for my taste, but it's going to work great. Once I get the shelves installed, then I'm going to go ahead and paint the cabinet itself and use a nice white cabinet paint. 2 or 3 coats will do the job. But when it comes to the drawer, I'm going to use a gray cabinet paint. I want it to stand out and give it a two-tone a little bit. So I'm going to get that painted also. This one only took 2 coats. Now here's the key to this whole project. I'm going to build some new doors for the cabinet itself. Using a 1x3, I'm going to cut those to pieces right there, make 2 of them, and put them together. I'm also going to mark where I'm going to join the pieces. I'm going to use my nifty Craig jig. I love this tool. It's great. I can drill it, and it's going to give me some hidden screws when I use it. Watch this. After it's drilled, that's where the screws go. Gives it a nice professional look. I'm going to put some glue on the edges, put those together, and I can either clamp them, but watch this. When I put them together, put some screws in there, and then I join them together with those screws. You can also stick some wood dowels in there to hide the pieces. Now these doors are also going to get the gray paint, so I'm going to get those painted. Once they're dry, on the back side of these doors, I'm going to put some chicken wire. I'm going to use my pneumatic stapler to put them together. Once I do that, I can put it all the way around, and it's going to look really good, but we want to make sure that it is secured. I'm going to go all the way around the edges and make sure it's nice and tight. Now I'm going to take the handle that I painted and I'm going to install that right there. And it's starting to look really good. The same for the drawers. Doesn't that look a lot better how it's all painted? I'm going to get this installed, make sure it's nice and tight, and then I got to put the hinges on the doors. These are just small 1.5 inch size hinges. They're working perfect. Put those in. Take the cabinet inside, and then I'm going to install the doors straight on there. Do you remember what that cabinet used to look like? Well, here it is, and look at that cotton bale. I love that little decor right there. It's great to turn this into a farmhouse kitchen pantry. I love how it turned out, especially with the white and the gray. I hope this inspired you to upcycle your own furniture whenever you get a chance, or take those marketplace flips and make them into a work of art.
If you are in the market for a couple of side tables or nightstands, consider an old vintage vanity instead. First up, I need to take it apart. I'm removing all the drawers, then studying how the vanity is built. Since this vanity is nailed together, I'm wedging a pry bar between the backboard and vanity, then hitting it with a rubber mallet to pull the boards apart. Now I'm checking where all the nails and joins are and removing whatever nails I can with a nail remover tool. However, for the most part, the crowbars, lots of pounding, and finally pulling apart the pieces by hand did the trick. Now I'm removing all the knobs from the drawers and attaching the original screws into the back so they don't get lost. I'm placing all the drawers onto some butcher paper with the varnished sides facing up along with the vanity. To strip off the varnish, I'm using a product called QCS by Stripwell, which is a non-toxic remover. I'm spraying the remover on all the varnished tops of the vanity and drawer tops, then allowing the product to sit for about 10 minutes. Using a putty knife, I'm scraping off the varnish. Most of the pieces needed 2 passes for everything. Now using a surface cleanser, I'm spraying it wherever the varnish was removed, then wiping the furniture clean with a rag. Next up is repairing the sides. Using an orbital sander, I'm sanding over the damaged areas of the nightstands, plus also scuff sanding the rest of the sides to prepare them for the next step. I'm using a putty knife to apply wood filler to smooth out any indents, nooks, and crannies. Some of the holes were very deep, so they required 2 coats with drying time in between. After several days of drying time, I'm sanding the putty smooth, then following up with an orbital sander to areas that needed a little extra work. Now I'm removing all the sanding dust using a tack cloth. Choosing a deep and beautiful paint color called Cast Iron by Fusion Mineral Paint, I'm painting all the small trim work with a smaller artist's brush. Since the sides are smooth and large, I'm choosing to paint them using a high-quality Stahlmeister velour roller I pick up through Fusion Mineral Paint to achieve a flawless finish with no brush strokes. I'm rolling on the paint with long, even strokes with an attempt to always work against a wet paint edge. What works best is to roll on all the paint, then slowly roll over it again from end to end with no stops in between to achieve the smoothest finish possible. To paint the drawer pulls, I'm using the screws to hold the knobs while I paint, then setting them down on egg cartons to dry. Now that the paint has set, I'm removing the painter's tape to allow the piece to completely dry. To protect the fronts of the drawers and the tops of the nightstands, I'm using Stain and Finishing Oil in Natural by Fusion Mineral Paint. This is a very easy wipe-on, wipe-off product to work with, and the durability it offers is floor quality. I'm brushing on the Stain and Finishing Oil until my chosen surface is completely covered, allowing it to sit for a few minutes, then wiping the product back off again with a clean lint-free rag. I allow this product to dry overnight. Once the paint has cured for about 30 days, I'll also be adding a coat of natural Stain and Finishing Oil on that as well for added furniture durability. And the final result are two absolutely stunning high-quality nightstands or side tables that are customized to suit my home. The tone of wood now looks so fresh and rich and feels as smooth as silk, which really pops against the decadent deep tone of cast iron, making this a gorgeous and timeless combination.
I wrapped in iron and tinfoil for this brilliant furniture hack. I grabbed a side table from the thrift store and took it apart. I sanded it, wiped it clean, primed and painted. I painted 2 coats and then sanded and wiped clean between each coat. I added a clear top finish and then I put it all back together. I wrapped my iron in tinfoil to keep it clean and then I turned it on. Once it was heated, I ironed wood edge banding to the edges. I left a bit overhanging on either side and then I trimmed it with scissors. When all the edges were complete, I gently sanded the top edge and filed the corners to ensure a smooth finish. The tinfoil protected the iron from getting any of the edge banding adhesive and kept it clean. Now I have the most beautiful nightstand with a professional finish on all edges. I hope this inspires you to refinish your furniture with this easy technique.
Next time you're at the thrift store, pick up a couple of table runners. I want to make sure that the good side is facing down. I'm just going to use some really strong duct tape to hold these together. I want to make sure the edges of this rug are even all the way around and up on the top. So I'm going to fold that down and then duct tape that part down. I picked up this vase and bowl at my local thrift store and then add a light coat of spray paint to the outside. Then I grabbed some napkins and I'm just going to gently pull apart the layers. I want to cut it down into smaller pieces. I'm going to start by applying a generous layer of Mod Podge, gently press it down with my fingers. I can go ahead and cover the bottom and the edges with smaller pieces. I am going to use some really strong glue to attach the smaller one to the bottom of the larger one.
Let's update this plain old corkboard. Grab some fun fabric to place over the corkboard itself. Cut a square slightly larger than the corkboard. Then attach the overhang of the fabric to the back of the board using just a few push pins. And then using the hot glue, go around the push pins to attach the fabric to the board. I hung it up on our office wall.
I grabbed a corrugated cardboard box and a tin can from my recycling for this elegant home decor. I cut the cardboard about a 1/4 inch taller than the tin can. I wet a tea towel and pressed it onto the top of the cardboard to make it damp, not wet. This helped to loosen it so I could pull the top layer off and expose the corrugated part. Then I flipped it over and painted the top 1/2 inch and top edge antique white using acrylic paint. I flipped it back and painted the whole corrugated surface in antique white, and then I started blending with the other colors. I used a sponge to add black, gray, and I spray painted some silver for a metallic touch. I added more antique white on top and blended it all together using my paintbrush. Once dried, I wrapped it around the tin can, hot glued it together,
I'm gonna rip down all the fabric off of my lampshade. So I'm gonna take it outside and give it a quick spray paint. And then after that, I decided I needed to spray paint one more thing, and that was a mason jar sealing part of the lid that I'm gonna use later on. I'm gonna take this wood slice, I'm gonna give this a good coat of sealer. I'm also gonna do like the live edges. And once that's all sealed, it's gonna be time to grab that mason jar lid and drill a tiny hole in the middle. And now it's time to assemble. I have some E6000 industrial glue that I'm putting in a little hole where like a finial for a lamp would go. And that's where I'm going to kind of adhere that mason jar sealer. I'm going to put some more E6000 glue along the rim here. So I'll go ahead and set that down. Got it in place, and now it's time to drill. It's all good. Gonna flip it up.
I grabbed some thrifted glassware for this brilliant garden decor. Then I grabbed some 2-part epoxy. I used a wood skewer to mix the epoxy and placed it around the bottom edge of one glass vase, then glued it to the bottom of the glass bowl. I set that aside and let it dry. I applied epoxy to the bottom of a different glass vase and placed the glass platter on top in the center. I grabbed the vase with the bowl and applied epoxy to the top and attached the third vase upside down, and applied epoxy to the top of the vase that is attached to the bowl, and I placed the other section on top.
Blow up a balloon, then grab some wood slices, take 2 wood slices and glue the sides together using a low temp glue gun. Let the discs bend slightly so they follow the curve of the balloon. To fill in, glue smaller sized wood discs into these spaces. Once you have all the discs where you want them and the glue has set, pop the balloon. I styled my new wood slice bowl by laying some moss on a tray and nestling the wood slice bowl on top. Then I added a beautiful pink orchid. Pick up some inexpensive wicker baskets. Dip the paintbrush in the paint and then pounce. Take the brush and lightly brush the paint onto the basket in the main direction of the basket weave. This basket finish looks fantastic, styled with flowers or green plants. Take a wicker basket with a very light finish. Spray paint the basket in light layers with an oil-rubbed bronze color. Let the basket dry completely, paint in light layers. You will notice that the paint dries very fast between layers because there is actually very little paint used.
I took this fleecy fabric softener plastic container and then using an X-Acto knife, I just cut off the top portion. Next, I'm going to take some craft paper. I'm scrunching it up to create like a really rough texture, and then I'm going to tape it on where I need tape to hold in place and just cut out my handle, and then wrapping that again in masking tape. When I'm done with this, I'm going to create my paper mache, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip the envelopes up into tiny little pieces. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of water before I turn on my blender. So I lay out the Mod Podge, and then I just grab a handful of the slurry and I just spread it around onto my plastic container.
First, we're going to repurpose a 1-gallon glass pickle jar, and then we have some decorative nautical rope. I'm measuring out vertical strips. Now, once I get all of my strips cut, I'm going to start using my glue gun to attach them on the side of the jar. And all I'm doing is I'm evenly spacing these out, and then I'll go in the middle of those sections and put a piece of rope, and then I'll do that, continue on until all 8. And I'm just going to start somewhere and kind of glue in a few places as I'm wrapping around, and then I'll glue the other 2, and it end up being a stack of 3, just to give it a finished look.
To start this project, I want to remove everything but the main section of this lamp. I'm going to add the glue to each of the joints and then leave it all to dry. I found these signs at the dollar store. I'm going to add a thinner wood round. A little wood glue will hold this into place perfectly. I'm going to find the middle and use the top of the lamp to trace a little circle. I'm ready to paint. I'm going to use the white chalky paint to cover both the base of the lamp and the wood. I want to attach the wood top to the lamp. The circle that I drew before is going to help me so that the lamp is correctly centered. Add some glue and then I can join them together and it'll be nice and solid.
Find some frames that you like, and you're going to take the glass out. We're going to spray the white vinegar on one side, grab this really cool stuff by Rust-Oleum and go over top. By using your paper towel and dabbing, it's going to create a design. Spray an even coat of the black paint. We're going to put our glass back into the frames.
I spied these license plates and knew I could do something with them. I wanted to make a flower, so I laid the license plate on a piece of white paper and cut it to size. Then I folded the paper in half and cut out half of a petal for my pattern and laid it on the back of the license plate and traced around it with a Sharpie. Using a tin snip, I cut it out. I turned up the edges with a plier. I also used a small paint can and rolled the plate along the can's edge to bend it. The center of the flower, I cut a plate in half, and then I cut out a circle. I made cuts into the center of the circle and bent the cuts upward. I drilled a hole in the center of the centerpiece and then drilled holes in the ends of each of the petals. I placed a bolt through each of the holes, and then using an electrical box cover, I drilled a hole in the center of that and one hole on each side of the center hole. I placed the bolt through the center hole and secured everything together with a nut. I threaded a cable tie through the 2 side holes in the box cover and then placed the plant stake around the bolt and secured it with the cable tie.
You know all those lonely donated lampshades? Pick up a matching pair. Pick up a thrifted belt. Run a bead of clear glue around the perimeter. Take the other lampshade, place it on top of the other lampshade, take some jute twine and tie the inner hardware of the 2 lamps together. Give the connected shades a little shake to make sure they are securely connected. Take the belt and buckle it around the skinny center of the 2 lampshades. Add a little glue to the loose end of the belt and secure it to the rest of the belt. Find a thin wood circle disc. Paint the edge with some acrylic paint. And peel and stick wallpaper is perfect for this project. Place the wallpaper disc on the lampshade base. can of gold spray paint. Take some scissors and cut the stems apart from one another. Spread your blooms out and start to lightly spray paint each stem. Glue a couple of the stems to the side of a thin candlestick. Don't glue everything down, as you want some pieces sticking out for a 3D effect. Overspray the entire candlestick with your gold spray paint. Take a glass vase with a curved neck and cut your stem to about the same height as the vase. Hot glue one stem to the vase. Take another stem and hot glue it overlapping the leaves. Cut random leaves from other stems and glue them directly onto the glass. Take your bunches of small blooms and clip off the very top blooms from the stems. Grab a small round glass vase, I got mine from the dollar store, and start to glue the tiny blooms to the top rim of the vase. Fill the vase with some green moss.
Today, I'm going to make use of some candles in an alternate way. I'm going to light a few of them here. I'm going to take some of these scraps of contact transfer paper and I'm just going to use these to make a kind of stencil guideline. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to dip it in the wax and I'm going to start brushing it on my candle.
I saw these lemons recently. I grabbed this stick outside. I'm going to snip them off the plastic branch that they came on. It's time to attach them to my real branch. It's time to add these beautiful faux lemons. I want the lemons to look natural, so I'm going to attach them under the leaves. To keep the tree securely in place, I'm going to use some floral foam. I'm going to use some of the bright green moss here to cover up that foam.
Take 2 woven tissue boxes and some round puck lights with a remote control. Glue the bottom of a puck light to the inside of a tissue box so it is centered over the hole. Run some hot glue around the top of one of the tissue boxes. Flip the other tissue box upside down and attach it to the glued top of the other box. Hang your new sconce on the wall. Set an edge of your lampshade against one edge of the wallpaper. Measure in 1/2 inch to 1 inch and mark it by running a pencil where the shade meets the paper. Spray the outside of the lampshade with spray adhesive. Roll the lampshade onto the wallpaper, pressing and smoothing as you go. Apply double-sided tape to the inside lip of the top and bottom of the lampshade. Wrap the overage border of the wallpaper over the edge of the shade and press onto the double stick tape. Take some more tape and apply it to the top and bottom of the lampshade. Take some ribbon in a coordinating color and press half of the width onto the double stick tape and secure on the inside of the shade. Do this for the top and bottom of the shade. Continue the lamp makeover by spray painting the base of your lamp.
I bought a set of bamboo plates, these LED bulb lights. I'm using 2 different types of spray paint, and then I'm going to go over the top with a little bit of gold, unscrew this piece, and turn the light on. I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive mounting strips. Then I'm just going to stick the light bulb to the center of the plate. Picture hanging strips, so I'm just going to apply one big one to the back and hang it up on my wall.
Separate the layers of a patterned paper napkin. Cut the paper napkin as needed. Now we are going to actually iron the paper napkin onto the taper. Heat and iron to medium-low heat, not too hot. Take painter's tape and tape off sections on a taper candle. Make sure that the edges are pressed down securely on the edges of the tape. Once taped off, paint light coats of acrylic paint in the open sections of the candle in the color or colors of your choice. Let dry completely. Fill a heat-safe container with hot water between 100 and 110 degrees. Place a taper candle in the hot water and let sit for 10 minutes. Paraffin candle works best for this. After 10 minutes, pull the candle from the water and then wrap the candle in some wax paper. Take a rolling pin and press down on the middle of the candle. Once the middle section is flattened, take the candle and gently twist it into the shape that you want. When you get the twist that you want, place the candle in cold water and this will set the candle in its new shape.
Grab a can of black spray paint and a roll of rattan webbing. Grab one of those outdoor folding metal tables. Clean it up with cut some paper and tape to the table so only the frame shows. Give the frame a fresh coat of black spray paint and let it dry completely. Outline the top of the table onto the rattan webbing with a Sharpie. Cut out the circle with some sharp scissors. Spray one side of the rattan with some spray adhesive. Spray the top of the table and let it sit for a few seconds until the surface is tacky. Place and press the sticky side of the rattan circle onto the top of the table. Place some heavy books on top of the rattan. Use some sharp scissors to trim the excess rattan from the circle.
The next time you're at Dollar Tree, make sure you head to their frame section and grab some of these gold frames. I'm then going to come in with some wire cutters and I'm going to pull out the black tabs that keep the backing on. Then I'm going to take out the glass and I'm going to come with some E6000 and I'm going to glue the glass inside the frame. Then I'm going to come and take 8 of the frames and I'm going to glue 2 of them together. And then I'm going to clamp them together and I'm going to let this set overnight. I came back the next day, removed all my heavy objects that I placed on top, and then as well removed the clamps from all the frames. So I'm going to glue all the sides and then I'm going to just raise them up here and build a rectangular shape. So 2 frames on each end and then the 2 that are glued together for the sides. I'm going to let this set overnight again, making sure that the glue is really solid. And then I'm just going to come in and finish it up with a nice A-frame top with my remaining 4 frames.
Take 16-inch wood skewers. Start by gluing wood skewers around the inner circumference of one craft hoop. Remove every other skewer to allow for even spacing and add a second hoop to the center of the skewers. Gather all the pointy ends of the skewers and fit them into a 3-inch macrame ring and hot glue in place to secure. Take twine, lace, and ribbon and add it to mask any seams or imperfections from hot gluing. Take a plug-in light fixture kit and thread it through the center of the top of the macrame loop.
Hand sew a simple over-under stitch around the perimeter of the placemats, but pause about 2/3 of the way through. Stuff polyfill stuffing in between the 2 placemats to whatever thickness you want. Then continue sewing the remaining space with the jute twine and tie off with a knot at the end. Using the upholstery needle and yarn, sew the pom-poms at different points around the perimeter of the pillow. Keep your eyes open the next time you are out walking and grab a straight stick about 3 feet long. If you have a flower pot, you are already good to go. Take 2 styrofoam blocks or floral foam and fit them into your pot. Place the bottom of your foraged stick on top of the 2 styrofoam blocks and cut a trough that is roughly the width of the stick. Put some hot glue on the bottom of the stick and set it into the trough. Press and hold until the glue dries. Place in the pot and fill with any other empty spaces with additional styrofoam. Take the styrofoam cone and cut it so it's about 3 to 4 inches tall. Take a metal straw and poke a hole in the cone. Put some hot glue on the top of the stick and slide the styrofoam cone onto the stick through the hole. Take all of your olive branches and cut off each individual stem. Poke the stem sideways into the pilot hole you created in the cone until you reach the first leaf on the stem. Where the leaf meets the base of the cone, place a bead of hot glue onto the back of that leaf and press it upwards onto the cone. Hold it there until it dries. This is the perfect way to disguise the styrofoam cone. Continue to stick stems into the cone with a little bit of hot glue to secure them. Add a little green moss to the top of the pot.
Head to Dollar Tree and pick up wood blocks, 2 wood trays, 2 larger frames, and 2 5x7 frames. Take 4 wood blocks and hot glue them to the underside of one of the frames. Paint both frames. Take 2 wood trays and paint them white. Once dry, add a border of gold washi tape to the top. Next, take wood skewers and cut them to size. Hot glue them to each side of the underside of the frames. Hot glue 2 large gold metal rings to the side of the frames on parallel sides. Glue the second frame to the top side side of the rings. Cut down paint stir sticks to fit the interior part of the frame and cover them with gold washi tape. Unwrap the 5x7 frames, remove the glass, and place the glass on both levels.
The next time you're at Dollar Tree, make sure you head to their frame section and grab some of these gold frames. I'm then going to come in with some wire cutters and I'm going to pull out the black tabs that keep the backing on. Then I'm going to take out the glass and I'm going to come with some E6000 and I'm going to glue the glass inside the frame. Then I'm going to come and take 8 of the frames and I'm going to glue 2 of them together. And then I'm going to clamp them together and I'm going to let this set overnight. I came back the next day, removed all my heavy objects that I placed on top, and then as well removed the clamps from all the frames. So I'm going to glue all the sides and then I'm going to just raise them up here and build a rectangular shape. So 2 frames on each end and then the 2 that are glued together for the sides. I'm going to let this set overnight again, making sure that the glue is really solid. And then I'm just going to come in and finish it up with a nice A-frame top with my remaining 4 frames.
Head to Dollar Tree and pick up fabric. Flip the frame on the back side of a piece of fabric. Draw horizontal and vertical lines off the 4 corners of the frame. Create boxes the same depth of the frame from these marks. Next, cut a diagonal line on the corner box cut marks and Mod Podge that fabric to the corners of the frames. Fold the fabric over on itself and then Mod Podge the rest of the fabric to wrap it around the exterior of the frame. Draw and cut diagonal lines in the center of the frame. Then take that fabric to wrap the interior side of the frame with Mod Podge. Reassemble the frame and add your photo of choice.
I grabbed 2 of these wood hangers. I'm pulling off the rope. I'm going to cover the front of the wood piece with the shelf liner, and then I'm just going to fold the edges over the sides. Grab 4 picture frames. These square ones work best. And then use a pliers to pull out the fasteners. Use some hot glue to attach 2 blocks to the bottom of the frame. Then glue the second frame to the other side of the blocks. You're going to do this twice with a total of 4 frames. Now we have all the pieces to assemble our shelf.
Take a bowl and cover the bottom in plastic wrap. Next, use a sponge brush and Mod Podge. Cover the entire bowl base with Mod Podge on the plastic wrap. Take rope and begin from the center of the base and wind it around towards the outer part of the bowl. Once completely dry, remove rope layer from the bowl and any excess plastic wrap. To begin, I'm taking my 3 wooden circles and painting them with chalkboard paint. I'm using 2 floating shelves from Dollar Tree. I'm using white paint from Deco Art. I found 3 wooden crates at Dollar Tree and I'm going to be painting them. Once everything that has been painted is dry, it's time to put it all together. I'm using E6000 glue. Once my circles are cut to size, I'm using a pencil to cover a majority of the back of the template. I'm using my pencil to trace the font I chose on the front side of the template. By doing this, it will apply the font template to the circle. I'm using a white paint marker to cover it. Head to Dollar Tree and pick up 9 small wood crates and stain them with wood stain. Take 3 wood stir sticks and stain them as well. Next, glue the crates together with 3 in a row. Then stack and glue each row to the top of the first row. Cut the stir sticks to the right size and hot glue them to the front bottom of each row of the crates. Add 4 wood beads with hot glue to create a base. Then use a screwdriver to attach the drawer label holders to the stir sticks. Head to Dollar Tree and pick up 4 small wood crates, 2 small floating shelves. Take the white paint for all 4 crates. Assemble 2 crates together with hot glue and then attach the second shelf upside down with more hot glue. Take fairy lights and weave it through the holes of the wood crates. Attach the second level of the combined wood crates and do the same thing with the fairy lights. To cover up the seams, take rhinestone ribbon and glue into place. Take craft mirror tiles, cut them to size, hot glue into place, and then remove the protective cover. Pick up 1 garden border from your local Dollar Tree. Cut the spiked bases off, add small black zip ties to attach the wreath form to the border fence. Wrap the border fence with small twinkle lights all the way around. Add greenery of choice around the top of the border fence with hot glue.
Next time you're at Dollar Tree, scoop up some of the white wire baskets and grab yourself a paper towel holder. Then I'm going to take the paper towel holder and place it on the bottom and then cut out the wire basket just in the middle. You're going to slide it over top and then you're going to secure it in place with some zip ties at the bottom. You're next going to take your second wire basket and cut out the middle. You're going to place it on your paper towel holder and then you're going to place some zip ties around the paper towel holder to give it a little bit of a ledge to sit on. Then you're going to come in with some E6000 and then you can spray paint it your favorite color.
I'm taking 3 hexagon decorative mirrors and 4 small glass candlesticks from Dollar Tree. Stack 2 candlesticks on top of one another. When the glue has dried, I'm taking some black acrylic craft paint, apply the paint all over each candlestick column. Once that column is attached to the base mirror, I'm adding glue to the top of the column before stacking another mirror on top of it in the center. While I'm taking my second candlestick column and my third mirror, I'm flipping the mirror face down and applying the glue to the column before placing it on the center of the back of the mirror. It's time to stack the third mirror onto the other 2. Head to Dollar Tree and pick up plastic storage drawers, hot glue them together, and then attach each stack to each other from the side. Take wood cubes and hot glue them under the drawers. Take 4 mirrors and hot glue them to the sides and the top. Add beads. Take 4 more mirrors. Take paint stir sticks and hot glue them to the backs of the mirrors to attach them all together. And glue nautical rope to the edges. Add the mirrors to the upper portion of a paper towel holder and then place the holder back under the drawers.
Head over to Dollar Tree and grab these hanging flower baskets. You'll also need a tomato cage. I stuck it into the ground and grabbed some black Rust-Oleum spray paint and spray painted the entire tomato cage, cut the bottom ends off. I placed the flower baskets onto the tomato cage.
So we're going to start with 12 of these really cute little crates from Dollar Tree. First, going to glue them together. So we are going to be using some wood stain. We are going to stain this as well. So we're going to put this into a formation. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over and we are going to put it on the center of our Lazy Susan. So we're going to go ahead and load this up.
Next time you're at the dollar store, grab a large wreath form, 2 small wreath forms, and 1 3D wreath form. Assemble the 3D wreath form according to the instructions. Start to cut the wire rings from each other on the large wreath form and the 2 small wreath forms. Take the second to largest ring and place in the center of the wire globe. Take 2 of the second to smallest rings and attach them horizontally between the center ring and the bottom of the globe. Take the smallest rings and attach them horizontally to each end of the globe, securing with floral wire. Starting at the top of the globe, tie a piece of jute twine in a secure knot. Start to loop and weave the jute twine over and under. Once finished with one section, skip the section beside it and start to weave the jute in the next section in the same direction. Work your way up the globe and weave the jute in every other section. Once you have the horizontal sections complete, start to weave the alternate sections vertically. Take a light cord and attach it to the top of the globe with the bulb hanging in the center of the globe. Use a very low wattage bulb that does not get hot.
If you're looking for a good bleach alternative, then you need to check this out. I used 4 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide and just a few drops of citrus essential oil. Then place it in the bleach tray of your washing machine as you normally would. So by using this do-it-yourself bleach solution, it keeps my pillowcases looking bright white without using all the harsh chemicals that bleach normally would. So simple and effective to do.
So I've got my soap. Start by grating the soap. All you're gonna do is sprinkle a little bit of your Irish soap right there in the windowsill. If it rains, it's going to basically clean your windowsill, but it would also keep the flies away. Grab some vinegar, fill a reusable jar full of vinegar, cut some citrus and peel off the peel. Place the peels into the vinegar. You can add a variety of other herbs. Place the jar into the refrigerator. After a week, open up a spray bottle, strain out and discard the peels and the rosemary and the other herbs you're using. And use
Use this mixture to clean your tables and other surfaces. Add 1 3/4 cups of water to a bowl. 1/4 cup of vinegar, 1/4 teaspoon of Dawn dish soap. Grab any old pitcher and place some paper towels into the pitcher. Take your mixture and pour it into the center of the paper towels. Let it sit, then remove the center paper towel piece. You've now created disposable cleaning wipes. Wipe up your table and discard the paper towel. Keep the lid on to keep them from drying out. Add 1 cup of water, 1 cup of vinegar, 1 cup of rubbing alcohol, add a few drops of Dawn dish soap. Mix all of these ingredients together and pour the mixture into the spray bottle. Grab whatever steam mop you have. Fill it up with distilled water. Grab a reusable microfiber cloth. Wring out all of the excess water and make sure to wring it out well. And clip it into place on your steam mop. Once the steam mop is ready, you can use the reusable mop pad to clean your floor. You can spot treat with the mixture that you made by spraying it onto sticky residue, mud, dirt, any grease and grime. Once you're done, remove the pad, throw it in the laundry, and it's ready to reuse next time.
So we're going to start with creating some cleaners. This is an all-natural soap, good ingredients, no harsh chemicals. So this glass container holds approximately 2 cups. And what we're going to do is put 4 tablespoons into the bottle. Next, we're going to add water and fill it all the way up to the top. Now that the lid's on, we give it a little bit of a shake to get that soap mixed in with the water, and this one is ready to use. All you got to do is spray your cleaner on, and I like to use washcloths that I can reuse so they're eco-friendly. So this cleaner is great for granite countertops. It's good for any surface. It will not hurt any surface. Once you're done, you rinse your little washcloth out, and you can give it a little rinse. This cleaner is also good for sinks. Do not forget to use your cleaner. Go ahead and get it good and clean, kill all of those germs, and go ahead and rinse it all out. The best way to buff a faucet afterwards is a good old microfiber cloth. But you just go in and wipe the faucet and it shines right up. No need for harsh chemicals. So for this one I'm using vinegar, and I'm gonna pour in approximately 1/10, and then I'm gonna fill the rest with water. So for this I'll be using a mild abrasive sponge. Now please note this is vinegar, so if you have any granite in your shower, do not use vinegar. Vinegar is an acid and it's really hard on granite, so you would want to use the other Castile soap. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray the vinegar mixture onto the tile and the grout, and then you use your sponge or washcloth onto, and it will get your grout clean. This is great for floors as well, your backsplashes, any of that. And then all you do is rinse it off when you're done. Can you see all this white here? That is mineral deposits and soap scum that ends up on your shower. So there are 2 ways to work at your glass. One is to spray it with vinegar, especially if you have those mineral deposits. This will eat away at them and help you clean them. Be careful again of what kind of sponge you use because you don't want it to scratch your glass. And then you just scrub your glass and you'll get all those deposits, at least as most you can, and then you'll rinse it all off. Now we're going to talk about another great cleaner that most people have in their homes, and this is baking soda. Now baking soda is great for sinks, especially cast iron ones, but it is abrasive. So you can sprinkle this in your sink and scrub your sink. Works great on stainless. But let's talk about how to make a less abrasive cleaner for your home by pouring some baking soda into a bowl like so. Next, I'm going to take some of that Castile soap, put about a tablespoon in, and give it a little stir. Now, you want this to make a paste so that it's ready to go, but it should be of a nice consistency like this. I'm just going to scoop a little of it onto my sponge, and now you just work on scrubbing at your floor. So now this is disinfecting and giving a little scrub because in my basin it's bumpy in here, so it's getting into the cracks. And then this is also good for fiberglass sinks and showers because we don't want to use anything abrasive in those, they'll scratch. And these can be applied to just about anywhere in your home.
I used a funnel and I poured half a cup of white vinegar, 1/4 a cup of coconut oil, or you can use olive oil, half a teaspoon of dish soap, and then 30 drops of fragrance or essential oils. After that, I replaced the spray nozzle on top and now it's ready to go. I used a microfiber cloth to apply the cleaner with. To use this leather cleaner, you're going to want to test out an inconspicuous spot on your couch first to make sure it works. I used my do-it-yourself leather cleaner to clean clean my entire vintage leather sofa.
Take shaving cream and spray it all around the bathtub. Take a rubber or regular broom and scrub the bathtub thoroughly until it's clean. Then rinse off with water. Take the shaving cream and spray the toilet brush to clean it. Spray it on and let it sit for a while. When it's complete, the shaving cream and the residue will be gone. Take the shaving cream, spray it on a mirror, and use that and a microfiber towel or paper towels to wipe it down.
Dab Murphy oil on a cloth and clean your vehicle interior to give it that brand new look again. Dab some more on a cloth and clean all those fingerprints off your stainless steel appliances. Wipe clean with a dry cloth for a nice polished finish. Fill a bowl with warm water and pour Murphy oil into a separate bowl. Use a toothbrush or cleaning brush to clean your jewelry. Look at those diamonds sparkle. Use the same setup to clean your wicker baskets. I always do this with ones I get from the thrift store. It adds moisture to rejuvenate the wicker and smells great too. Dab Murphy oil on a clean cloth and wipe down your wood furniture. It cleans and polishes. Pour some Murphy oil into a mop bucket with hot water and clean your floors. This works great on real wood floors too.
If your vacuum cleaner is starting to smell a little stinky, this is an easy hack. Throw some baking soda inside either the bag or the vacuum cleaner itself. This will deodorize the vacuum cleaner and keep your air smelling fresh. To clean your grout, place your soft scrub into the grout. Use a toothbrush to scrub it into the grout and let it stand for about 10 minutes. Wipe it up with a clean, damp rag.
Grab some shaving cream from the dollar store. Sometimes odors sneak out from the bottom of our toilets. Take the shaving cream and spray it all along the crease of your toilet. With your rubber glove, spread it on so it covers and seals that whole opening. Let it set for approximately 10 minutes. You've now eliminated odors that were hiding underneath of your toilet between the seal and the toilet tank. Grab some Fabuloso from the dollar store. With a sharp object, poke a couple holes into the item. Place the cleaner inside the tank. A little bit of the Fabuloso will be released and will help clean your toilet. Grab a spray bottle. Fill the spray bottle with 3/4 water. Take a cap full of Downy and place it into the spray bottle. Replace the lid, give it a little shake, and you've created a wonderful air freshener that you can use anywhere in your home. Grab a small bowl, place a little bit of vanilla extract into the bowl. Also add a little bit of water. Place the bowl onto a baking sheet and place the baking sheet in an oven. Close the oven door and turn the oven on approximately 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. This will help your house smelling fresh as the vanilla extract aroma fills your home.
Take mirrors outdoors and lay them on a protective surface. Use water to spray all over the mirrors with a spray bottle, and then take the gold and antique pewter spray paint to spray along the outside edges of the mirror tiles. Allow time to dry and then wipe them off with a towel to see the aged finish. Open the pack of wood slices and pick out 8. Take outdoors to spray paint flat black on both sides. Use a level and painter's tape to create a guide to attach the mirrors in an ordered way on the wall. Take adhesive squares and glue that's included with the mirrors to attach to the back of each tile. Then place along the painter tape guideline and work horizontally and then vertically, applying the tiles securely. Once the mirrors have been attached to the wall securely, take the same glue from attaching the mirrors and use it on the back of the wood slices to place in the inside corners of the mirror tiles.
I went to Home Depot and grabbed a piece of regular plywood. I also grabbed 2 2x8s to use as a cross brace on the back of the plywood to give it some stability, and use contractor screws to screw it in place. I then began cutting my lattice strips to size. Once all the pieces were cut, I began securing them into place with 1-inch brad nails. I used the mirrors as spacers to make sure not only were my boards straight, but they were also the perfect width across. Using a 3/4 by 8 piece of lattice strip, I then secured it to the sides to create a frame. Once my lattice frame was complete, I then began cutting 18 individual horizontal pieces. I then began spray painting. I let this dry for 24 hours to make sure everything was ready to go before I started installing. Then, using a combination of wood glue and liquid nails, I secured each mirror. For this project, I used 12 by 12 mirrors. You can find these in packs of 4 at IKEA or packs of 12 on Amazon.
My first step was going to my local thrift store to buy some inexpensive vases. Then I used Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I'm going to be using some painter's tape and our Restore Chalky Finish paint. I'm going to be using a little bit of this mounting spray just to help hold the stencil in place. Use my sponge brush, go through and I add more of this pattern around this cylinder vase.
Turn your box of extra table legs and parts into something gorgeous. I'm using contact cement to attach all my pieces together. I want to paint the pieces all white. I want to distress them.
I have some clear plastic Christmas ornaments stuck on some wooden skewers and popped into an old piece of styrofoam. I'm using some Krylon sea glass spray paint.
And I have some nautical netting, and I'm going to put it around the ornaments. I'm just using a little hot glue to secure it at the top. I'm just going to let the glue set, and then I'm going to trim off the tops. To finish off our faux nautical floats, I'm using some jute.
Take a bowl and cover the bottom in plastic wrap. Next, use a sponge brush and Mod Podge. Cover the entire bowl base with Mod Podge on the plastic wrap. Take rope and begin from the center of the base and wind it around towards the outer part of the bowl. Once completely dry, remove rope layer from the bowl and any excess plastic wrap.
Start to paint your pots and saucers with a matte finish paint or chalk paint. Take a paper napkin and separate the 2-ply layers. Draw a circle and cut it out with scissors. Take the saucer and brush the decoupage glue so the bottom and sides of the saucer are covered. Place the paper napkin circle and press down in the center and smooth the napkin out. Dip a small paintbrush in water and brush along the top of the saucer. Add a final layer of decoupage glue. Take a strong adhesive glue and place a ring of glue. Place the saucer on top of the bottom of the pot.
Head to Dollar Tree and pick up 9 small wood crates and stain them with wood stain. Take 3 wood stir sticks and stain them as well. Next, glue the crates together with 3 in a row. Then stack and glue each row to the top of the first row. Cut the stir sticks to the right size and hot glue them to the front bottom of each row of the crates. Add 4 wood beads with hot glue to create a base. Then use a screwdriver to attach the drawer label holders to the stir sticks.
First, we're going to repurpose a 1-gallon glass pickle jar, and then we have some decorative nautical rope. I'm measuring out vertical strips. Now, once I get all of my strips cut, I'm going to start using my glue gun to attach them on the side of the jar. And all I'm doing is I'm evenly spacing these out, and then I'll go in the middle of those sections and put a piece of rope, and then I'll do that, continue on until all 8. And I'm just going to start somewhere and kind of glue in a few places as I'm wrapping around, and then I'll glue the other 2, and it ended up being a stack of 3.
I grabbed some mirror paint and thrifted light fixtures. I added a splash of vinegar to a spray bottle with water and lightly sprayed the inside of the glass light fixture. Next, I sprayed the mirror paint on the inside and drained the extra water and paint out. I sprayed the light fixture base black. Once dry, I painted antique gold rub and buff on it, leaving some of the black showing. Once dry, I added battery fairy lights.
First, we're going to spray paint. I'm using Rust-Oleum Satin Heirloom White and Rust-Oleum Stone. We're going to take some painter's tape. You kind of want to rough tear one edge of it. We're going to put this along the bottom. I'm using a craft paint and I'm just using brushed gold. You kind of want to make it look like the paint is kind of tearing and you can see underneath it.
The next time you are at a thrift store, pick up some inexpensive wicker baskets. Dip the paintbrush in the paint and then pounce. Take the brush and lightly brush the paint onto the basket in the main direction of the basket weave. Take a wicker basket with a very light finish. Spray paint the basket in light layers with an oil-rubbed bronze color. Let the basket dry completely. Paint in light layers. You will notice that the paint dries very fast between layers because there is actually very little paint used.
I grabbed a scrap 4x4 from my wood pile and gave it a rough sand on all sides and edges. I evenly spaced out 18 marks, alternating on either side so the marks were staggered. I used a 3/4 inch drill bit to drill holes in each mark. I put painter's tape on the drill bit to know how far to drill for each hole, and sanded the edges of the holes, and then applied pre-stain conditioner. I used a lone sock to apply a dark brown stain of a color I had pre-mixed. While that was drying, I grabbed some white tapered candles and let them soak in very warm water but not boiling. After 5 to 10 minutes, I used a rolling pin to roll out the middle, and then I gently twisted the candle.
So first thing you need to do is find some frames that you like, and you're going to take the glass out. We're going to spray the white vinegar on one side, grab this really cool stuff by Rust-Oleum and go over top. By using your paper towel and dabbing, it's going to create a design. Spray an even coat of the black paint. We're going to put our glass back into the frames.
The first step is just to make sure this is really clean. To start with, I want to use some gold leaf adhesive. I am just going to let this sit for about 20 minutes. Now we're going to get out the gold leaf sheets. Now you want to use a tweezer and a dry paintbrush with this. As I'm going along, I'm going to use the paintbrush and it's going to pull away any of the excess. And then we're ready to move on to the next step. Now we're going to add some paint, but we're going to paint the inside of this vase.
I sourced a couple things from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to be using the Rust-Oleum milk paint. We are going to add our hot glue, put it into the corner. So we're going to do this in all four corners. So once that kind of sets, we're going to flip it over and do the other side. We are going to be taking our smaller pieces and we're going to be creating an X shape. And then I'm going to come in with my hot glue gun. We are going to glue these together, painting it the same color as we did the other pieces. We are going to hot glue. All right, so we're going to let this dry here for a moment. And that's where this comes into place. Just need this piece. We're going to clip off this piece. We're going to paint it. So now that this is all glued and dried, I'm going to take a little bit of hot glue and I'm going to put it in the hole. Now that we've attached the tumbling tower pieces, so I can go over the edges.
I grabbed glassware from the thrift store and mixed Mod Podge with food coloring and then covered it on the outside of the glass. Make sure to apply an even thin coat so it doesn't drip. When they were completely dry, I applied a second coat and let that dry overnight. I melted some old tapered candles. I wrapped the wick around a wood skewer and placed it over top. Next, I poured the hot wax into each glass and let it cool.
We are going to make some beautiful home decor items using clear Elmer's glue. We are going to fill this vase with the clear glue. Then we're going to add in some clear and white decorative pebbles. Now I'm going to grab some faux flowers. Now I'm just going to stick these into that glue. Once you've got them arranged just right, set this aside and let it dry.
Trip to my local Dollarama, separate the layers, cut the napkins so that you have enough to cover the body of the jar. Now I'm using some clear glue mixed with a tiny amount of water, paint it onto the side of the glass jar. Then lay down the paper nap and then using a piece of scrunched up plastic wrap, use that to pat down the napkin and eliminate any wrinkles that way. Draw around the lid because that will be the right size and cut out the piece of napkin, stick it to the bottom of the jar in the same way. Using the same process, cut out a circle for the top and a little strip for the edge and stick it in place. When it was dry, I decided to give it 2 coats of a gloss varnish. I have taken a battery operated puck light and stuck it into the lid of the glass jar.
We need a skinny roll of tape. And we also need some clear Elmer's glue. And our template for today is going to be an outside window. We got to put some of that tape on the window. Now, you can go ahead and take the tape and mask it to the grid that's already on the window, or you can just go random like I'm doing it. But the next step to this is we got to grab that Elmer's glue. Once we get some paint in there, all you got to do is just go back and forth with it, and it shakes up really nice. Next, move on to your second color. These are our 4 colors we're going to go with. Now, because it's on the Elmer's glue, it's actually non-toxic, and I used a foam brush to transfer it to the window. It's going to take multiple coats, but the glue and the paint dries really fast. You can actually put a coat on within an hour after you put it on. Once it dries overnight, you're going to take a knife and very gently, we don't want to scratch the window. If you try to pull the tape with it out using the knife, it may pull the glue off. Just go ahead and start pulling the tape off. It's another thing. When you're done with this and you want to change it or just take it off later, it peels right off.
We are going to grab a couple glass mason jars. You're going to grab a small dish and you're going to fill it with clear glue and a little bit of water. I used about 2 tablespoons of glue and about 1 tablespoon of water. Then I'm gonna drop in a little bit of food coloring. Then stir it up until it's mixed really well. Grab your mason jar, make sure it's nice and clean. Pour that dark blue mixture into the jar and swirl it around so it covers everything. Once you've swirled it all around, you can dump the excess back into the original container. Now we wanna let this drip for a little bit. Let it drip for about 10 minutes. Take a paper towel, wipe off any excess drips that are around the rim of the jar. Then place this upside down on a piece of parchment paper. Pop it in your oven at 175 for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, take it out, turn it right side up, and let it cool completely. I'm gonna take the piece of glass out and I'm gonna draw a grid of squares and rectangles with black puffy paint. When that's done, I wanna let that dry completely. So I'm gonna use a little bit of clear glue and a few drops of paint. So on that piece of glass where we added the puffy paint, when it's completely dry, I'm just gonna use a popsicle stick and transfer some of those beautiful blue colors onto the glass. But a little goes a long way because you don't want this to run over the black line. Once everything is done, you can grab a toothpick and go back and just pop any of those bubbles that are in there. Then set this aside and just let it be.
Grab some Elmer school glue for this renter-friendly project. First, I gave my window a really good cleaning. Grab some masking tape to mask out an abstract design, and then I'm going to take my Elmer's glue and pour it straight into the tray. Then I just rolled my glue onto the window. I removed that masking tape before the Elmer's glue could dry.
Carpet in my office needed to be replaced, but it just wasn't in the budget. But torn and crumpled paper was. Mixing equal parts of glue and water, I made the paste for the floor. Using a wide paintbrush, I applied the glue to the floor, making sure I got underneath the baseboards. Then I laid down the paper and brushed the glue on top. I continued to apply the glue to the floor, then the torn paper, and then more glue over top of the torn paper. I switched out my brush for a foam roller to cover larger areas, but I kept the brush to use underneath the baseboard. After the glue dried, I applied stain to the floor using a foam roller. After the stain dried, I applied coat after coat of polyurethane. Using a lamb's wool applicator made this process so easy.
I made a trip to my local dollar store. Taking a terracotta pot, I draw a very random shape. Taking the clear glue, I pour some onto the side of the pot, picking up some of the blue gravel and pat it down. I then put some of the silver glitter glue around the edge. I'm going to stick these grasses and weeds to this glass. Cut off these extra bits on the bottom. Now I'm going to stick the tissue paper to the vase. I'm going to use a glue stick and then just rolling it, pulling it tight on this side, some more glue down and gently stick that in place too. I'm going to go around and just trim .
Head to the thrift store and pick up a set of matching glasses. I'm grabbing a block of candle wax. I'm gonna take this all to the stove, let it melt completely. I'm gonna set it aside and let it cool. I'm going to add wicks to these glasses. Now I can pour the wax into each candle, and I'm gonna let this set for a full 24 hours. Grab a candlestick, grab yourself a little container and pour in some Mod Podge. Then you're gonna add a few drops of food coloring and just apply a coat over the entire outside of the candlestick. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of blue and then make another candlestick. My glass is covered. Just set these aside for an hour or two.
So we're going to start with this cellophane piece here. So I'm going to make the line here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Put a clear dot, or you can run a clear line. And next, I'm going to go ahead and place the cellophane onto the glue and glass. So I'll go ahead and continue putting the glue and the cellophane up on all the windows.
So I put 2 spoons of cornstarch and 2 spoons of Elmer's glue, and that's what we're looking for. I'm going to use this really lovely mandala stencil. Going very carefully, I'm now going to apply it. The whole stencil is covered, and now for the moment of truth. Very, very, very carefully lift this off. This is the next day now. I left it overnight to dry. Also sanded it very lightly. Okay, just going to give it one coat, then leave that to dry now.
I took the table apart, separating the glass from the metal ring. Laid the glass on top of the picture. I mixed 2 parts white glue to 1 part black craft paint. I outlined the sun. And once the lines had dried, I cleaned up any lines that were too thick by cutting them away using a utility knife. I painted the background using a 1-inch wide brush. I added designs to each panel. I gave the paint 2 coats of spray sealant. I used a medium grit sanding sponge. I painted the metal bright blue.